Welcome back to the Building Confidence podcast, where I, your host, Louise as a party, share what I've learned through the years, through the tears, so you don't have to. This is episode 109, and we're going to be talking about when to be resilient. This episode is proudly supported by Jnine, and I will talk a little bit more about them later on. All right, when to be resilient. What do I mean by that? Resilience typically means the ability to get through hard things. All right. And resilient is something that I have been told that I am. Right. And at different points of my life, maybe yes, maybe no. So, as per usual, these conversations are coming from my own lived experience. This is not, I'm saying this should be your opinion as well, but this is my lived experience and my views on being resilient. When I tell people about my apprenticeship, I was 15. I started off in a male-dominated trade. There was one other girl there. We were both kind of just making it through. I had some challenges with some general bullying, with some sexual harassment, making poor decisions myself. And people tell me that I was resilient. And at first I kind of smiled and nodded. I'm like, oh yeah, cool. Whatever that means, because I was just putting one foot in front of the other. My goal was to become a mechanic and nothing was going to stop me. Looking back on it, I now answer that question with, no, I was not resilient. I was defiant. And this pretty much brought me unstuck as well. When people told me that I couldn't do something or I shouldn't do something, I went and did it. And, sometimes at work, when people told me that I shouldn't be a mechanic and I went and become a mechanic, that worked. But when people were telling me good advice, hey, Louise, I don't think you should do this. I don't think it's a good idea. And they were coming from love, I still went against their advice anyway, which kind of brought me unstuck in a few, let's call them romantic relationships. They were relationships that probably shouldn't have happened that I went for anyway, because I was on this defiancy path. Not resilience, I believe I was just being defiant at that point in time. And the thing is with that is being defiant helped me for some things, but it brought me unstuck for others. Now, where am I going with this, with resiliency? So, with being resilient. This word gets thrown around a lot, especially in the personal and professional development space, which is what I mostly play in now with doing this podcast, with speaking at events, with doing one-on-one coaching with tradeswomen and tradespeople and people in general. Resiliency gets chucked around, and sometimes it is used incorrectly. And this is my belief. I'm not saying, look, this is the law, this is how you should use resiliency, being resilient. But if companies are training people to be resilient because they have issues that can be solved, I don't think you should be resilient for the long term against issues that can be solved. Now, what are some examples of these issues? Being short-staffed, not filling in roles, not offering leadership training. Okay, so in these instances, when to be resilient? Okay, someone's left their role and there's a month or two where they're trying to fill the role, and then after that month or two, they fill the role. Yeah, usual thing, the company's trying to fill the role, they fill the role. Awesome. Be resilient in those 2 months where it's a bit annoying that you don't have a direct leader. Maybe you need to step up. Maybe you need to take on a little bit more work for 2 months, right? What not to be resilient against. Them saying, hey, we don't think that role was important, so we're just going to make everyone absorb the work. And you know what? Maybe that's reasonable. Maybe you're a team of 10, so you absorb 10% of that person's work and it's reasonable. Maybe you're a team of 2 and you have to absorb 50% of that person's work each. Is that reasonable or not? I don't think that's reasonable in most circumstances. That is something that resiliency is not useful for, because then you end up working yourself into the ground because you're doing 150% worth of work. Example there. What else to be resilient against? Inconveniences. I feel like anything that you can label an inconvenience, a one or a mild inconvenience, yeah, be resilient to it. So one thing that kind of really brought this to my attention, it kind of shook me, because I was like, resilient, bullshit, fix the problems. That was kind of my strong belief for quite a while. Now, it's still mainly my belief, but yes, there are things we need to be resilient against, like things that are inconvenient, like having to finish someone else's work. This happens. People have to finish our jobs too. We were running a task I teach at TAFE. We were running a task where in pairs, they pulled apart an engine and they swapped pairs, and they each after doing the activity, there was 2 activities that they needed to do on 2 styles of engines. They put the other person's engine back together. Everyone was in the same position. And in my mind, and I had a few discussions with this with my peers, in my mind, this represented what happened in the workplace, right? I worked at a business where they had a night shift. So you would work on the truck machine during the day, and someone would work on at night shift. And when you come back in the morning, it was a little bit annoying because maybe they didn't do things the way that you planned, but you picked up and you kept going, right? That's just what you do. And this particular student just was like, nope, this would never happen. I would never have to finish anyone else's work. I always finish my own jobs. Like, this would never, ever happen to me. And in my mind, I'm like, what do you mean? Like, we work in an industry where jobs need to get done. There is a timeline. So if you are sick or anything happens, if you get injured, someone else will have to finish your work. One of my most memorable moments for this is one job that someone had to finish for me, and I was so out of it. Like, I felt so sorry for them when I kind of come back to reality. I was working on a truck. I was doing a bearing roll. So I was laying underneath the truck, tensioning some bolts, and I couldn't be bothered to get an extension. So my socket wasn't on the bolt properly, and when I went to tighten, it slipped off, and I punched myself in the face and broke my nose. There was a lot of blood, and I was kind of like, there was a crack in my face. Like, my nose was broken. I didn't know at the time. It was just very, very, very sore, and there was lots of blood. So, doctors, day off, sleep it off, recover, vertigo, all that kind of stuff. Someone had to finish that job. I did not have time or the ability to write a handover, nothing. Someone had to finish my job. And that's it. Those inconveniences, something to be resilient at. Something to be resilient to as well, not poor leadership. So not poor leadership, but somebody learning how to become a leader. I feel like this is a scenario where resiliency is useful because somebody is actively learning, and they might make mistakes along the way, and it might be annoying, but you work through it. You do not be resilient against a leader that is bullying you. No. That is one of the things where I'm like, no, resiliency training for the humans underneath this leader is not useful. Teaching the leader how to be a leader, useful, in my view. So overall, I think resiliency is something that we do when we have annoyances. Kind of lingering annoyances that, we kind of get through them. Resiliency against inconveniences. But if someone is actively bullying you, and my kind of definition of bullying, like, because some people are like, in the trades we have banter, blah, blah. A lot of the things that we say to each other when we are in close proximity for a large period of time, taken out of context, can be classed as bullying, right? In these situations in trades, I really define the line of bullying to not bullying. If you go up to someone and say, hey, when you say this, it really bothers me, please don't say this, and they keep on going, making you feel uncomfortable on purpose. All right, that I feel like is a clear line of saying, yes, this is bullying. That is not something to be resilient against. Maybe you be resilient in the time it's getting sorted out. Maybe you be resilient while you are going to HR, while you're trying to have different conversations, while you're trying to change teams to get away from this person, whatever you decide to do next, maybe in that short period of time. But being resilient against someone that is actively bullying you over and over again is not useful. You are putting yourself in a situation where you are uncomfortable, probably distracted from your work. Your energy is going towards trying to protect yourself. This person can be becoming your inner voice, the way that they talk to you over and over again. That is not something to be resilient against. All right, I don't even know if I'm using it correctly. It's just resiliency. Being resilient, it just gets thrown out so much. Teach people to be resilient. Teach people to be resilient. Yes, being resilient against minor inconveniences, or even maybe big inconveniences that are happening for a short period of time that are out of other people's controls. Weather events, I don't know whether you believe in climate change or not, but the weather is certainly different than it was 10 years ago. But in my area, we've had flooding. We've had like 4 or 5 1 in 100 year floods about 3 years ago in the space of 2 years. Being resilient against that. And you know what? Maybe moving could help, but some people don't have that ability. So being resilient against something like that. People leave jobs all the time and those jobs are open for periods of time. Being resilient against that. Yeah. Being resilient against bullying, not useful. No, never useful. Might be useful for a period of time while you change your situation, but long-term strategy, your energy is going towards something that is not going to help you any way, shape, or form. Dealing with difficult people and practicing dealing with difficult people, that's what you can take out of that situation. But being bullied for a year, 2 years, 3 years, not useful in my mind whatsoever. All right. So this is my view on when to be resilient. I hope you found that a bit useful. I have this conversation a bit. I usually say I don't think resiliency training is useful in this situation. I believe leadership training for leaders that are bullies could be more useful. But depending on your situation, everyone's situation is unique. And in saying that, if you would like one-on-one help with your situation that you're going through and you think I could be the coach for you, please send me a message. You can contact me through the link in the description of the podcast, or you can reach out to me on Instagram at Louise as a Party Coaching. Feel free to flick me a message there. But I would love to help you. I would love to help you go through your situation so you come out better on top. Whether it is being resilient or whether it is solving for problems, it's probably a mix of both in most circumstances. But I want to help you in your situation so you can keep doing the work that you love and be happy and healthy along the way. All right, so this episode was supported by Jnine. Jnine is a period care company. They have a website where they sell all things that are necessary for your period and all things that make things more comfortable on your period. Run by a woman who's had PCOS her whole life and is now in the stages of perimenopause and menopause. She has the lived experience. She has created this to make us feel more comfortable as people who get their periods to move through the world. All right. So I just wanted to leave you with this. If you don't believe in yourself right now, please borrow my belief in you. I know you can do whatever you put your mind to. You might need to have a snack and take a nap first, but I know you can do it. I'll see you next time.